Across Tel Aviv, the gates of construction sites are locked, police cars line the streets, and thousands of Chinese workers stand outside, unsure if they'll ever work again. Word is spreading fast. By the end of this year, every Chinese laborer could be sent home. For years, Israel's skyscrapers rose on the backs of Chinese workers. They built the cities, the bridges, the towers, earning more than they ever could back home. But those wages came at a heavy price. Many borrowed huge sums just to get here, paying agencies up to 150,000 RMB for a chance at a better life. Now, that dream is collapsing overnight. No one knows what's really happening. The police are blocking entrances, checking IDs, and shutting down entire sites in Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Ashdod. We called the agency. No one answers. We called the boss. She says she doesn't know. One worker said in a shaky video filmed at dawn. Those clips exploded across Douyin, Weibo, and X. Hashtags about mass deportations hit millions of views. Fear spread faster than fact. Some say 100,000 Chinese workers could be expelled, legal or not. Others whisper that Israel is quietly cutting all new labor approvals, ending a partnership that once symbolized economic trust. But this story isn't just about chums. It's about politics. The war in Gaza, China's silence over Hamas, and growing tension between Beijing and Tel Aviv have shattered decades of cooperation. What used to be a relationship built on trade and technology has turned into suspicion and blame. Now, the people paying the price are not diplomats, but migrant workers. They are being questioned, detained, and left without pay. Some even filmed police entering dormitories and street stalls, sparking outrage back home. They treat Chinese workers like criminals, one post read, drawing tens of thousands of angry comments. Neither Israel nor China has given clear answers. The embassy stays silent. Recruiters have vanished. Construction companies are cutting staff without explanation. And those who borrowed everything to come here are facing ruin. We already paid 150,000 RMB in fees. If we're sent back now, we lose everything, said one man, his voice breaking. Behind the politics, behind the headlines, are real families. In rural China, waiting for money that may never come. Their sons went abroad chasing hope, and now they may return home with nothing but debt. The promise of Israel once glimmered like salvation. Today, it feels like exile. This crisis didn't begin overnight. It was years in the making. For decades, Israel and China shared a quiet partnership. When Western nations hesitated, Israel sold China advanced weapons, cybersecurity tools, and agricultural know-how. It was business built on trust, until the Gaza war shattered everything. After the October 2023 Hamas attack, China refused to condemn Hamas, calling instead for restraint. In Israel's eyes, that wasn't neutrality. It was betrayal. When Chinese scholars began confronting Israeli officials at global forums, the message felt clear. China was no longer standing with them. Then came Netanyahu's public accusation that Beijing was working with Qatar in an online campaign against Israel. Overnight, a fragile friendship turned into open hostility. And on the ground, Chinese workers suddenly found themselves caught in the middle, no longer seen as neutral builders, but as symbols of an unfriendly power. Next came security fears. Israel lives in constant alert. Every foreigner, every undocumented worker becomes a question mark in the eyes of the state. Videos now show police sweeping through construction sites and dormitories, checking IDs one by one. For Israel, it's about control. For the workers, it feels like persecution. Street vendors have been detained. Construction crews blocked at gates. Labor agencies pressured to cut staff. To the workers, it's chaos. To the authorities, it's national security. And beneath it all lies money and misery. When China's real estate market collapsed, thousands of jobless builders were pushed overseas, drawn by Israel's high wages. But to get there, they had to pay the enormous agency fees, often 100,000 to 150,000 RMB, borrowing from families or even loan sharks. The moment work stops, everything unravels. Now, as sites shut down across Israel, men who once built skyscrapers are sitting outside locked gates, counting their losses. They can't work. They can't go home. And every passing day, their debt grows heavier. One worker said quietly into his phone, "If they send us back now, we lose everything." Their pain runs far beyond lost paychecks. Back in China's countryside, parents mortgaged their homes for these contracts. Villages lent money at high interest, believing their sons would return rich. But now, those families face ruin. Land gone, homes at risk, children's futures in doubt, and the silence is deafening. The Chinese embassy says nothing. Beijing looks away. These men, once called the backbone of overseas cooperation, have become invisible, victims of a political Cold War they never chose to fight. Meanwhile, Israel's own economy is bracing for impact. Construction is one of its lifelines. Remove tens of thousands of Chinese laborers, and projects stall overnight. Housing prices could surge, deadlines collapse, and urban growth grind to a halt. Easy to hire when times are good, easy to discard when politics turn. This isn't just a story about migrant labor. It's a story about power, loyalty, and how fragile human lives can be when nations collide. The gates are locked. They're watching. And for thousands of Chinese workers, the dream they once built now stands as a monument to everything they've lost. Videos of police raiding Chinese dorms and forcing street vendors to kneel have ignited anger online. What used to be quiet cooperation between Israelis and Chinese workers is breaking apart. Now suspicion hangs in the air. Some Israelis see these workers as extensions of a foreign government that sympathizes with their enemies. And the workers, humiliated, frightened, and abandoned, start seeing Israel not as a land of opportunity, but as a place of rejection. The divide is growing and it cuts deep. Back in China, families who once proudly spoke of their sons building homes in Israel now whisper in shame. The remittances they counted on have stopped. In villages across Henan, Anhui, and Sichuan, stories spread like wildfire of men returning home with nothing, trapped under debts they can never repay. For these communities, the dream of working abroad is dying, one unpaid wage at a time. But this storm doesn't stop at the human level. It's turning diplomatic. Israel once gained from its partnership with China, technology deals, infrastructure projects, and access to Asia's markets. But the scene's now spreading online. Chinese workers rounded up on Israeli streets are reshaping that image. Beijing hasn't spoken loudly yet, but it doesn't need to. Every clip shared, every comment posted adds to a growing perception that Israel has turned hostile. And if Chinese media decides to amplify that story, the fallout could hit far beyond construction sites, reaching trade, defense, and diplomacy itself. In the end, it's the same story history keeps telling. When politics collapse, it's the powerless who suffer first. Because today, their future no longer depends on how hard they work, but on how deeply two governments have stopped believing in each other. To a mall the other night during China's National Day holiday, and what I saw left me speechless. Every shop had shut down by 7 p.m. Not a single sound, not a single crowd, not even the buzz of people shopping. Just silence. The only sign of life? 3 lonely figures skating in the basement rink, taking lessons under the cold lights. That's all. The rest, completely empty. There's not a single car on Chang'an Avenue right now, one Beijinger said in disbelief. That's how Beijing celebrates holidays now. If I were on vacation, I'd be out having fun or relaxing at home, but honestly, there's nothing to do anymore. Everyone's just working, struggling, surviving. Another resident couldn't believe what they saw. I was ready for the usual traffic jam on Temple Front Street. No parking, endless crowds, packed like sardines. But this year, no one. Absolutely no one. It's like the city's lost its heartbeat. A netizen filmed a short clip of the mall inside. This National Day feels empty. Then there's the other kind of silence, the silence of anxiety. "Oh my God," one young woman cried. "It's already autumn, and I still haven't found it. Wow. I've been looking since March. Interviews, trials, rejections, over and over again. Everyone else is waiting for their year-end bonuses, and I'm still waiting for a single offer. What should I do? I'm so tired, so anxious. I can't take it anymore. This year's Golden Week, once a symbol of joy and prosperity, has turned into a week of stillness. Across the country, shopping malls, supermarkets, and even farmers markets stood half empty. From Yiwu to Shaoxing, from Shenzhen to Xiamen and Guangzhou, business owners all said the same thing. This year is different. It's too quiet, unnaturally quiet. One man in Shenzhen pointed his camera toward an empty street and said, "Where did everyone go?" I'm standing right behind Longhua bus station. Look, completely deserted. 5 years ago, this place was like an ant colony, packed with people, shoulder to shoulder. Now, nothing. Not even a crowd at the traffic light. Did people really leave Shenzhen? Or is something else happening? He pointed at a row of closed shops. The spicy hot pot place across the street closed after 1 week. 1 week? Maybe it's because the factories have all moved away. The people are gone. Every year it gets worse. Restaurants are empty, stores for sale, lights off by 8 p.m. This used to be one of the busiest streets in the city. Now it feels like a ghost town. And it's not just Shenzhen. A vlogger from Xingtai shared his shock. It's only the second day of the National Day holiday. I finished work early, went to Tianyi City to feel the holiday vibe. But there's no crowd, no laughter, no life. The whole mall feels hollow, like time has stopped. I expected noise and excitement, but what I found was silence and emptiness. This is what China's National Day looks like in 2025. Quiet streets, dark malls, and a generation wondering, where did the prosperity go? And when will life feel alive again? The blogger couldn't hide her frustration. She said many store owners had hoped the National Day holiday would bring a flood of customers. One last chance to make some money before the year ends. But things didn't go as planned. Foot traffic was thin, sales were flat, and most shops barely made enough to cover rent. Last year during the holiday, our store was packed from morning till night. This year it's so quiet I even went home early, she said with a bitter laugh. Where did everyone go? Why isn't anyone spending anymore? In Kunshan, Jiangsu, a netizen filmed himself sleeping on a park bench. He said he couldn't find a job and wasn't alone. The park was full of jobless people like him. Finding a job away from home is really tough, he said softly. If you still have a stable job, you should cherish it. His words hit home for millions of struggling young people. Another blogger shared her own painful story. Let me show you what job hunting in Beijing really looks like, she said. I started sending out resumes on September 4th. It's been 2 weeks. I've sent out more than 200 resumes. Basically, every spare moment of my day went to job hunting. Guess how many interviews I got? 4. Her first interview was with a grocery e-commerce company. She applied for a business administration role in the legal department, something she had plenty of experience with. I was confident the interview went well, she recalled. But then the interviewer asked, "How old are you?" She told the truth. The interviewer paused, smiled awkwardly, and said they'd get back to her. A few days later, the company told her she wasn't suited for the intensity of the work. She knew exactly what that meant. They didn't want to hire someone in her 30s. It's not about skills anymore, she said quietly. It's about age. Once you're past 30, the workplace shuts its doors. In Chongqing, another netizen shared a heartbreaking scene. She filmed a once bustling women's clothing street in Guanyin, now full of shuttered stores and empty windows. This whole base is closed down, she said while walking down the deserted street. It used to be impossible to find a vacant shop here. Now everything's for sale or for rent. My sisters, look at this. Our old Mocha clothing store is gone. Physical stores are dying out. It's worse than I imagined. In the comment section, someone from Chongqing added, "This place used to be gold. Opening a store here cost hundreds of thousands in transfer fees. Now even newly renovated shops can't attract tenants." And from Shanghai came another video. This is Juding Street during the National Day holiday, a shop owner said. It's already 1:28 p.m. and not a single person has walked into my store. If I'd known it would be like this, I'd have just stayed home. What's the point of opening the door if no one's coming? Across China, countless small shop owners, workers, and job seekers are all asking the same question. What happened to the people? And where did all the money go? Listen to me, a netizen warned. Never, ever look for a job before National Day. Anyone who does is just setting themselves up to be exploited. He explained why. Even if you find a job, you won't be allowed to start right away. The boss will smile and say, come after the holiday. Sounds harmless, right? But it's a trick. If you start before the holiday, they'll have to pay you triple wages for National Day, plus your base pay for those days off. So instead, they delay your start date, save a few thousand yuan, and make you wait on your own dime. He continued bitterly. You'll end up waiting 10 or 15 days, paying for food and a bed yourself. Even the cheapest guest house costs 50 to 60 yuan a night. You eat instant noodles every day to save money, but still, by the time the job even starts, you've already burned through 1,000 or 2,000 yuan. You haven't earned a single coin, and you're already losing money. Aren't we all just leaks waiting to be cut? Another blogger in Shenzhen
说的
shared her
挺
own
好一挂
struggle.
脚的，我觉得
She and
没
her
有办法
husband
在
opened a small restaurant years
没有
ago.
办法在
Back
打击
then, their
我
place
这
was
个自
surrounded
信
by
心会
thriving
非常的
factories.
失落。
Workers
毕
would
竟
stream in every evening, and their
一直
daily
在找工
turnover
作，
reached 1,700
上个
or
月
even
7月1号
1,800
的时候，我
yuan.
们上
But those days are gone. One by one, the factories closed or relocated. The industrial zones emptied out, replaced by silent buildings converted into cheap apartments. Now only a few young people live there, some working in offices across the city, others drifting between jobs, trying to survive. Every evening, she watches them walking home in silence, eyes tired, shoulders slumped, clutching takeout boxes or phones, showing job apps that never lead anywhere. Business at her restaurant has collapsed. On good days, they barely make 1,000 yuan. Some days, not even that. People don't spend like before, she said, stirring a pot slowly. You can feel it. Everyone's saving every cent they can. She remembers one regular customer, a factory technician who used to come every evening, cheerful and chatty. He'd order 3 dishes, spending around 40 or 50 yuan each time. Now he only orders one simple meal set, 13 or 15 yuan. No drinks, no snacks, just a quiet nod and a sigh before leaving. The market isn't just cold, she said, her voice trembling slightly. It's frozen. People have money in their pockets but are afraid to use it. They don't know what tomorrow will bring, layoffs, rent hikes, or medical bills. We're all just holding on, hoping things will get better. But every month it feels like hope is slipping further away. China's economy in 2025 is plunging into its darkest moment. Once bustling factories are shutting down or fleeing overseas, leaving behind empty industrial zones and jobless workers. The middle class, once proud and hopeful, is drowning in debt and despair. Real estate remains frozen, small businesses are collapsing, and consumer confidence has completely vanished. Even during national holidays, shopping malls and streets stand silent. The so-called world's second largest economy now feels like a nation on pause, struggling to breathe under the weight of its own slowdown.